Welcome back. It's Relationships at Work, your leadership guide to building workplace connections and avoiding blind spots. I'm your host, Russel Lolacher, communications leadership expert. I have experience in both those areas for a couple of decades and a whole heap of curiosity on how we can make the workplace a better place. If you are a leader trying to understand and improve your impact on work culture and the employee experience, you are in the right place. It's Thursday. That means a mini episode of the show. Just a quick, valuable bit of information to help your mindset for the week ahead. If you're curious about these mini episodes and where those ideas formulate, highly recommend you check out the Raw Note newsletter. You just go to russellolacher.com or relationshipsatworkshow.com. At the top, you can sign up for free to the newsletter, and you'll get an idea of where these ideas come from and get some of these ideas a little earlier. Today, the topic: one leadership style is not enough for a great leader. What's your leadership style? I've seen it asked by leaders. I've seen it mentioned online, lots. I've been asked this. I've probably asked it earlier in my leadership journey as well of others, all in an effort to better understand how someone leads. It seems pretty harmless, right? Servant leadership, people leadership, collaborative leader, democratic leader, hands-off leader, involved leader. These are all styles, or at least the ones we want to admit to, but there's others like authoritarian, checkbox leadership. There's lots. And understanding it, if we ask this question, it might help. But the problem is that having one leadership style, it limits us as leaders. To really be a great leader, we have to be adaptable, not rigid. One style does not fit all people or all situations. To be an effective leader, we need far more than just one style. Our leadership style should be more like a Swiss Army knife, the right tool for the job and/or audience at hand. We need to think of it like great communication, right? With communication, we don't communicate in the same way to everybody because everyone is different in how they understand information or want to be informed. You wouldn't communicate, say, to your team the same way you'd communicate to a colleague or a colleague in another industry, or how you'd communicate to your boss. Different audiences, different ways of communicating. Leadership, it's exactly the same. What works for some doesn't work for others, or in every situation. So we, as leaders, it's important to expand our skill set for the job at hand. Let's look at two styles that aren't usually desired, authoritarian and transactional, and one that is, servant. They all have their place in our leadership skill set. We should be able to do any of these and switch as needed. So with an authoritative leadership style, where you take strict control, make the decisions, expect obedience, it can actually sometimes be necessary, especially in emergencies, high-pressure situations, crisis management, or fast-moving environments where there is no time for debate. Other times, a transactional leadership approach. Now, transactional leadership is where you focus on clear goals, structured tasks, systems of rewards and consequences. It makes the most sense when you're in areas like managing sales teams with quotas, or overseeing a deadline-driven project, or making sure people stick to strict processes, like in heavily regulated industries. And then there's servant leadership, which is all about putting your team's needs first and helping them succeed. This approach, it works well when you're leading a customer service team that might need to improve satisfaction scores, or you're managing volunteers who rely on motivation and support to get going, or guiding creative teams that do their best work in collaborative environments. None of these styles fit all situations, though. In an emergency, I can't really see a servant leadership style being really effective if we're stopping to figure out how our team needs to be supported or trying to find creative solutions. No, it's an emergency. Things need to happen fast. But I also don't see an authoritative leadership style demanding obedience from a group of wide-eyed, young, excited volunteers. So that's the problem with asking a leader what their singular style of leadership is, because it shouldn't ever be one style. That's not the goal. Being asked that question, though, it's a great opportunity. It's a phenomenal opportunity because it helps us understand what our default style is, while also leading us to expand our leadership style skill set. We know what we default to, But what else do we need to lean into and learn? First, we can self-assess and reflect on that leadership style we have that we default to and how we currently respond in different situations. If you're not sure how to find out, you can take a survey, get feedback, do a personality assessment. Think about what has worked and especially what hasn't. It helps us recognize where our go-to style is so we can go to work to add tools to our toolkit. That's a good way of looking at it. It might even highlight other styles you didn't know you had and possibly subconsciously switched in certain situations. It might not be your A leadership style, but maybe there's a B, C, and D in there as well that you may need to grow. Once you do that self-awareness test, have some discussions with other leaders. Have discussions with your team members. Not only to better understand yourself, but also to see what they do. Remember, we don't need to see ourselves as alone in this. We can learn how others adapt their styles to various challenges. Watch others in their diverse leadership styles. See it in action. And whether that's through mentors, books, case studies, it expands our own understanding, not only in how we'd react, but see how others do it and how they switch. Then get to experimenting, get to developing. Work on that emotional intelligence, that EQ, which is crucial to recognizing when we need to shift. Training programs with role-playing and scenario-based exercises, well, those can be really helpful. Soak in courses or books or podcasts like this one. Then try these new leadership styles out in the real world and pay attention to their impact, good and bad. Some might not work and you may need to switch again. I'd even communicate ahead of time with those you're leading that you're trying out something new and you want to see how it goes. That shows vulnerability and a willingness to learn. That just helps the relationship even more. We have to be willing to step out of our comfort zones. And having only one leadership style, it's staying comfortable. The more adaptable we are, the better we can serve our organization and our teams at every level. That's leadership. So don't be a spoon when the situation calls for a corkscrew or the tweezers. I'm trying to remember what's in a Swiss Army knife. Well, I am digging deep on that metaphor anyway. But the most important thing to remember is keep adding to your toolkit. And that'll do it for another mini episode of Relationships at Work, your leadership guide to building workplace connections and avoiding blind spots. Have a great day. My name's Russel Lolacher. I've had an absolute pleasure talking with you. I hope you found this valuable. If you do, share it with others. Pass it around. Let others who may need sort of that mindset shift think differently, or even a reminder. A lot of leaders know this already. It's just they need to hear it at the right time in their own journey to sort of activate it or to really dig into it and learn more about it. So if you know others that need to expand that brain power or that curiosity, share the love. I'll leave you there and I look forward to talking to you again. Take care.